All right, welcome to Building Trust and Safety. My name is Kim Carr. I am the executive director of the nonprofit #ICANHELP. So let's dive in. Here's the thing, make sure you have your notes. I think I'm a big believer. I am still a credentialed teacher in the state of California, left teaching in 2015 to make this a full-time job because we saw there were so many problems happening online. So here we are. So let's dive in here. Let's make some things happen. Take notes, because at the end, I want you to be able to say what you will do, right? What you will help. The curriculum that we have is so engaging and interactive because we challenge the students and even adults to start thinking about it, right? They're really interactive, having that piece. So this one's called Find the Moment. So even right now in your phone, go ahead and go to your photos. Just let's have some fun, right? While we're on this fun virtual session. And in my photos, you're going to search. If you look down here, we're going to find an older person, more than one animal, socks, food, liquid, screenshot, and a meme. So I want you to go ahead and look in your phone for one of those things. So right away, I was able to find a picture of my parents. So I got a point for the older person, right? And then I'm going to go through my phone and let's see, screenshot more than one. Oh. See some of the, and again, all of our content is actually made with students, for students. That's kind of the fun part of it. Oh, here we go. I found some socks. So we make all this content with students, for students. So we want to make it interactive, because then once you look through your photos, if you look over at the discussion questions, did any of these pictures bring up any good memories? How about bad memories? Were there any pictures you forgot about, right? Which ones? Are there any pictures you feel you should have deleted, and why? What can you find out about someone from their camera roll? So there's so much you can keep going. And then would you let someone go through your camera roll? Why or why not? Do you need to change anything in what you're taking pictures of? A lot of people, there's some people who said, I take way too many selfies. I have no pictures of my family. Someone's like, I've taken too many screenshots, especially of homework where they're cheating, right? And having that conversation organically comes out where they basically kind of tell them themselves, like, what is the problem? And it's just that easy way, organic way to be able to have that conversation to bring out that trust and safety with students. So when I'm teaching, and I taught virtually last year, when I was teaching, I would do the bus duty. I would constantly use the phone. Hey, show me your last photo. Or we'd have we would have a scavenger hunt. Show me a picture of your family, right? And then they're going through their photos, having to try. They're like, I can't find a picture of my family. So this is kind of how I was building trust on my campus with students, and that's what made them come to me and report things to me because they felt comfortable, because I made it a natural feeling instead of like, put your phone away, you're not supposed to have your phone out. It's after school hours, right? I'm meeting the rules. We're by the bus. It's now okay for them to have their phone. So just showing you some different ways of how you can build that trust, because it is important. Our mission as a nonprofit is we empower student change makers, we promote digital safety, and then we celebrate them, right? We get to celebrate the students who are using it for good, so hopefully inspire other students who are using it for good. We believe students need to be part of the solution. This is a problem. There's a lot of issues nationwide with students using their devices. Name a school that's not having any social media issues. And we believe students need to be part of the solution. When you do, they will report when there is school threats. They will report when there's suicidal problems. They'll report when there needs to be sites taken down. So, and then they'll actually create the positive content. So this is what we're getting, is because we've allowed students to come talk to this, we're making this happen. We are nationwide. We have students across the nation. We have 2 internship programs. One's an annual, where it's a year round, where it's students from 13 all the way up to college. They're letting us know when things are going down, when there's new trends, when there's a TikTok trend, when there's some kind of a problem, they let us know, right? So if you know any students who are looking for, who are high achievers and want to kind of jump in here, help us with the marketing, help us with graphics, video, all kinds of stuff. We even have seasonal, that's our college students looking for college credit, looking for college experience. They help us with the business side of it. And then it helps us, everything we make is made with students, for students. Because here's the thing, because we built that trust, we built that trust and safety piece, they were able to have conversations with us before their issues. So before The cancel culture made the news. Students were coming to us telling us, hey, this is becoming a trend. This is becoming a problem. We're seeing it on TikTok. We're seeing it on Instagram. Then when students were coming to us saying, hey, what do we do? This girl just totally got, canceled. And because she was being racist, right? She was being super racist on her accounts, but that how her classmates handled it was totally wrong. They posted her phone number, posted her address, put all of her social media sites, said, hey, this girl's racist, blasted her. How do we handle that, right? On the right-hand side, the other picture, the group of students, that's actually a post from over 3 years ago, where when Black Lives Matter is going down, students are going back to past posts, finding something that kind of look racist, and wanting to sit there and say, oh, this is a burning tiki, this is a burning KKK cross, when really it's actually a tiki torch, right? So they were sparking this. So how do you build that trust and safety? How do you create those conversations before there are issues so students know how to kind of intervene? And it is just having conversations with students. I mean, that conversation is, hey, never make permanent decisions with these temporary emotions. And that includes adults, right? We as adults need to make sure that we are not making permanent decisions with these temporary emotions. I draft up an email and I don't respond for 24 hours, right? If I draft something up, especially if I'm upset with something, I do not press send. I wait 24 hours, and usually I'm over it by the next day. I completely change it. Sometimes don't even send it. Different stuff needs to happen. And just showing that this is happening, right? And knowing when is it the school's issue and when is it the parents' issue, and when is it an issue together. So this is a party, clearly at someone's house. They make a very creative beer pong, and now people are like, the school's issue, here's a phone number, here's here's the email. This is a school issue, when clearly this is definitely a parent issue. Like this needs to be a conversation at home as well, as the school. It happened at school, but how is it now always only the school's issue, right? So making sure we are teaming it up, having those conversations before you even get to this point, and people knowing what their role is, of who they need to go after, right? I mean, this one, clearly, if I knew to those parents, I would have gone after them, and knowing what your lane is. Like, stay in your lane of what are you in charge of? What is the school in charge of? What are the parents in charge of? And I think people need to be reminded of what lanes you should be going at. Where do you go? Just kind of having this conversation really helps to build that trust on what the next steps are, right? Making it very clear, what are the steps when something does go down online? Who do we go to, right? Where am I going? It really just helps that piece. And we're really big about calling it digital first responders, because students are the first responders. They're the first ones to the scene. They're the first ones who see things go down on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Discord. They're the ones who are seeing it. They need to be the first responder. How are they going to respond to that? Are you going to, make sure, can you report it? Can you check in on the person? There's so many different ways that they can respond. Teaching them those things is how you can build that trust. We do have certain steps that we just ask students, right, to make sure they're informing students and adults. 49% of students don't turn to adults when there's a problem online. And the biggest reason I ask students this is because most adults said, well, you shouldn't be on anyhow, or just stay off of it. That's their solution, when that's not a realistic solution for students. Making sure they report anything inappropriate, blocking inappropriate people, right? Stopping negative talk with positive. All these things are just kind of our steps. We're actually changing the post only positive. We're actually going to change it to post comment respectfully. I think that's important for everybody. If you disagree with somebody, make sure you comment respectfully. So this is what we're trying to do. And then the last one, instead of following, ICANHELP, it's just going to say, hey, follow non-toxic people and pages. Whatever you think is non-toxic, that's what how you create your own feed. This is building that trust so we can show them on how we need their help to be that Batman, right? That Batman signal, like, here, I'm here. That's what #ICANHELP is. It's just like a signal. I'm here to help you. So we've created a poster series that schools can purchase, where it really is just talking about the awkward situations. Schools can purchase in a PDF. then you can actually print out as many as you want. You go down to your Kinko's, print as many you want. We've had a lot of schools put it in their classrooms, their counselor's office, different places, so students can constantly see it. All these posters were made with students, for students. Even the graphic was made by student, right? So, hey, how do you handle a group chat when it gets out of control? What do you do? These are all student answers. Hey, what do you do if somebody asks you for inappropriate photos, aka nudes? Here's how you can respond. Hey, what do you do if somebody sends you the inappropriate photos? I love the number one answer is to delete photo, because legally they need to delete it. They shouldn't even be sharing it with their parent, because the parent can now charge because they just passed it. So just understanding we need to build that trust of having these awkward conversations. And trust me, they're so appreciative. And then even pausing, let me go back. Oh yeah. Even pausing and giving them a scenario and having them, okay, what would their response be? Like, what are some ways that you would respond to this situation if somebody wrote a racial comment? What would you do? What would you say? What would you do? And let them fill those blanks in, right? And here's the thing, you make an impact when I was in Ohio. I actually did a virtual presentation in 2020, and then they had me come this year in 2021 to the school in Ohio. And the students were like, you've got to come check this bathroom out. You got to see the impact that you've been making. Go in there, and the posters are still up. They're like, Kim, the posters always get torn down. People write things, they draw things. But these posters, because they know they were made with students for students, and it's actually beneficial for them, they've left it up. So I just think it's really cool to be able to see the impact, because we're truly building that trust with students, that we're working with them side by side, not in front of them knowing more and not behind them knowing less. We're walking side by side with them. So important, is because there's no parents who were born in social media yet. This is the generation who was born in social media, and they know how to navigate this world. They're the ones who are going to be able to come up with some of the solutions that we need, right? So let's make sure I just dive in to give you some more ways of what you can do to build trust. The first one is this: focus on what you can influence. Social media is huge. It's huge, right? So what can you influence? Discord is new and up and coming. If you don't know what that is, it's a place that students can go and they make group chats. They can have conversations. It's great. Every digital can be used for good. But again, of course, like anything else, everything can be used in a negative way. So just focus on what you can influence, what you can do, and then make sure you're teaming with others. Be curious, ask questions. I ask students all the time, how do they use social media, right? Be curious. And here's the thing I want to make sure you get out of this session is our generation, like the older generations definitely are what we call, you scroll, right? You scroll up to see the feed. This generation are what we call swipers. So they actually don't look at the feed as much. They actually look at people's stories, and then they swipe over to see the next one. So making sure, how are you using this? How can you build trust? You should be using stories on your Instagram school pages, because that's where students are at, meeting them where they're located. So if you put something on your feed, it's easy to put it on your feed and then post it to your story, so it makes them want to interact. And I found that out because I was curious, hey, how are you using social media? What are you doing? They started telling me like, oh yeah, I don't really check feed that much anymore. I really just look at people's stories. I'm just, swiping. So I found that out. So we make sure our story constantly has stuff on it on a regular basis, and even make it engaging. Students like that engagement. It's how you can build that trust. They're more likely to respond, right? Different pieces showing you what you can do. The next one is how you can build that trust is just being aware of your bias. Like I think that's been a huge piece. Hey, you think someone did it? Realize if you have one screenshot, there's always something back further. So I actually encourage students to take screenshots of every single thing, so that the admin and whoever's doing their investigation, if it's the resource officers, they can go back, because I guarantee you there's a reason why that person sparked the way they did, making sure you have that whole full entire conversation. And just because you saw one comment, there's comments before that, right? The retaliation, just like sports and everything else, the person who usually gets caught is the person who retaliated from something else. See how they are social with their peers, right? They are using it for cool things. They're using it for FaceTiming. They could be in Discord groups. They could be using it. Asking them, like, how are you being active with group chats? What are you using it for? They're using it for sports. They're using it for academics. Asking those kind of questions to see how they're social, so that you can make sure you're utilizing that, right? Like I said, just simple stuff of using the stories. The two biggest social platforms right now is definitely TikTok is number one, and number two is Instagram. So a lot of schools actually have shifted over. They now have school TikTok accounts. So do you have a school TikTok account? Instagrams, that's where they're at. Do you have a school Instagram? I've been working with a lot of schools who don't even have that. They only have a Facebook, and a lot of them have Twitters. Making sure you need to be where they're being social. A lot of people only have Twitters just so they can be active. Admins can be active together. That's great for admins to interact together, but then now you're just showcasing to other schools what you're doing instead of actually providing services for your students. Simple things that you can do to see how they're being social. Set expectations, right? What are your expectations when they come on your campus with their device? What are their expectations when they go into a classroom? What is your expectations with that? Because it is confusing. There's quite a few schools I've worked with that have a zero policy, which is great. But then when a student wants to report, then they want to get that person in trouble because they had their phone out during school hours. Is that really, have you built trust? Why would that student want to come back to you if they're now getting in trouble because they turned somebody in during school hours, right? So it's just this piece, setting up your expectations, setting up these different things is really important to be able to have. And even with adults, like, when should they have their phones out? So I just want to pause to make sure you're taking notes, because I'm going to give you some examples, but I want you to either take, hey, everyone in here can help. The question is, will you? So I'm giving you quite a few things to think about, and realize, being an educator, when I go to these conferences, I want to do so much. I'm like, oh, it's such a great idea, such a great idea. But don't overwhelm yourself. Pick one thing you want to do by the end of the month, right? What's the one thing you want to do by the end of the month? What's one thing I want to do in 3 months? And then what's something I want to do by the end of the school year? And then what's something I want to do next year? So I just want to make sure I help you break that down, because it does get overwhelming. I know this year we're extremely overwhelmed figuring that piece out. So here's the big thing to help keep building trust is we actually created a social media literacy course. I created it while I was doing virtual school last year during the pandemic. And so I actually got asked to create this course for middle school and teach it. So while I was teaching it, I was like, I need a pre-survey. I need to figure out, what do these students have? What do they have a device? What are they on? What are their rules at home? So that's what was in the pre-survey. But then I also asked, who is a trusted person on campus? Any adult. That could have been, it could be anybody, right? So now that you are back on campus, is it the cafeteria worker? Is it the janitor? Is it, a certain coach? Who is it that you trust? Because that's important. When something does go down, I want them to think about who they can go to when something does go down the line. They can be that first responder, and they can go let them know. But how I also used it was, when a student was getting in trouble, the principal came to me saying, Kim, don't you have that list? Don't you have that survey? I then asked, who's this kid's trusted adult? They can actually go and have that conversation with them. Super cool way. You can find different ways. You can also go to the staff now, and you can say, hey, nobody has listed you as a trusted adult. Something's wrong with that picture. Another big one that schools have used to build trust is they actually adopt the staff, like the teachers will adopt the student. Either the students who have all D's and F's, they can only talk to them about life stuff. They can't talk to them about academics. Or they would put a dot on the students who they already thought who are really connected, right? Or actually talking about their life, because realize the people who do have the biggest issues are the ones who are they already have D's and F's, but they're kind of floating here. You don't always know that they're kind of hurting. So that's another great way you can build trust. This is a huge one. I love this one. Esports. What a cool way to think about, to be able to get connected with those gamers. They're usually dark. They're usually really depressed in their basements playing video games. You can bring them on campus, playing. All you need is a room, maybe some lights, right? And you can make them a little logo, but then they feel like they're actually sports are being celebrated like they're a sports team. make it be a part of your culture, right? Here's some classes or some schools that put their posters up, had it there, made some flags. Part of their culture is how you can build trust, build that safety, so everyone just knows this is how you act. This is one of my favorites too. It's just called Undercover Leader. I have it 2 different versions. One's for leadership, like leader students, like student council, and one is just for regular students. So this one is really focusing on your leaders on your campus, your student council, and they write a letter to students on like what they're seeing them do as a leader, like the good things, because I think people forget that people are watching them on campus as much as they watch them on social media. So it's getting them to kind of have that, and they write them a note, send it to them, and then they're actually going to see that, and then having that conversation about how you're branding yourself on campus, how you're also branding yourself on social media. So our curriculum that we have comes as a PDF. It also comes as a Google slide. Super easy. They're 15 minutes. You saw how quickly they can be done. But one of my other favorite ones is the respectful call-out card, where you can ask students, hey, what are the problems, right? What behaviors are you seeing that are contributing to unhealthy behaviors, right? Behind unhealthy relationships. You'd be surprised to hear some of the answers. It's crazy to hear. What behaviors what behaviors do we or our peers ignore, mitigate, or in our own relationships, right? And if you see over here, mitigate, we put the vocab word, make less severe, serious, or painful, so that they know what that word is. Then from that, after that conversation, it's now they're going to create a actual card on Google Slides or on Canva or post my wall. So here's an example from a couple years ago where YOLO started becoming big on Snapchat. It's basically like you only live once, share whatever you want. So it was victim blaming 101 is what they wanted to say was their respectful call-out card, that you wanted to blame all the victims. So a person puts up on their snap like YOLO, then students respond. They're making comments like, oh, I love your outfit today. It looked really sexy. Hey, you want to hook up? May I please see your boobs? Hey, want to suck my exclamation points? So what they're saying is when it's victim blaming is, well, but they could have just not posted it. So they shouldn't have posted it if they didn't want these kind of really rude and super inappropriate and even sometimes super, very inappropriate kind of things. They shouldn't have posted it. So they wanted to blame the victim. So then from that, it's going back to the questions. It's like, which ones do we think was the worst? The class came together, said, this is what we need to focus on. And they made it where like they stopped these comments because people said their entire class said, this is not okay. This is not how we should be treating each other. They can also pick one thing that they want to work on privately. So just that was really cool to be able to see that respectful call-out card come to life. Also part of our curriculum is a restorative justice piece where when a kid does get in trouble, that they come up to the office, they fill out like, hey, what were you even thinking about it during the time of the event, right? Check all the apply. I wanted attention from my peers because sometimes that is true. I was frustrated. I didn't know how to ask for help appropriately. I was trying to be funny, which is another big one. I did not feel well. I was upset or angry about something or someone. I wanted to feel secure or included. So just walks them through that. There's a backside as well, where it then goes into the next steps of what they would do. What we also created, because we were having such great success from that, we actually created a digital restorative video course. A lot of schools are playing it beforehand. And again, it's building that trust, getting everybody on the same page of terminology, knowing what things are. They watch this course and have that piece. So I just think that was really neat to be able to have that. We also created the social media literacy course, has everything from facilitator notes, worksheets, assessments with rubrics. Everything is all in there. Super awesome because we've changed the terminology to make it student friendly. Again, everything was made with students for students. So they didn't like the terminology digital citizenship because it didn't relate, but they know what personal digital branding is. Like they know what that is. So we just kind of changed it, the topics, to be about students. Look at these scenarios. And again, how do you build trust? How do you build safety on your campus is making sure you go through the scenario with your staff, with your admin team, with your students. If one of these things go down, what do you expect the cafeteria worker to do, the yard duty person to do, a student, a parent? If they know this goes down, what do you expect them to do? What is your plan, right? Where do you expect them to go? If there is a bullying situation on Snapchat and it disappears, what do you want them to do? So if you teach them ahead of time that they should screenshot things, they're gonna they'll know how to handle that, right? Realize on Snapchat, if you screenshot something, it will notify the person that made it that you took a screenshot. It'll say Kim Carr took a screenshot. So a lot of students don't like to do that, but if they're smart and they're taught this, they can take a phone, go over a phone, take a picture now. They now have it. It doesn't notify the person. So this is where you need to make sure you're walking them through the emergency plans. They feel comfortable, and that's how you create that safety. We also have an admin course because there's so many issues that we're building that safety by having them making sure the admin team knows, hey, is your policy update, especially at the Supreme Court where there's a cheerleader. If you saw that case, she got kicked off the cheer team because of her social media, but the Supreme Court actually ruled that you can't do that. You can't kick students off because of freedom of speech. She wasn't targeting anybody. She just was saying, she was not being kind, is basically all she did. You can't kick somebody off the social media. So is your policy up to date? And then do you need help with investigation? So we walk you through different those things. So you can build that confidence to build that safety on your campus. Because here's the thing, the next TikTok challenge is going to go down. This is devious lick. So how do you handle that? You want to make sure students are reporting it, again, being that digital first responder. And then how do they respond? They're going to respond in a positive way to get, there's always going to be that negative person. There's always going to be those negative people, but how do you get them to shift over here? There's way more positive people who want to do something positive. So there it is. There's the angelic yield where they clean the bathrooms, put out nice things. Other students did this devious sips challenge where they brought their staff Starbucks and even school supplies. Again, students and staff are getting targeted with fake pages. How do you handle this? What do you do? This is a vice principal out in the, I think Boston area. And he literally had this page was going for a long time, had cops involved. He sent me a message, can you get this taken down? I was able to take it down. And the reason what I did is I basically sent a DM saying, hey, our world's in a really dark place. You might want to take this down. Are you okay? And then I also went into how it's slander, right? You're hurting their reputation. So same thing, these students are doing these like roast pages, but they think they're okay. Even though there's 178 people watching it, they gave them consent to roast, right? Oh, they gave me consent, which that's not always the case. Not every kid gave consent because then they get funny. My best investigation piece on this is call any of these students. There's 178, call any of them that are students and ask them about the page. They're not in trouble. You can't get them in trouble, but tell them the why you shouldn't be following this page. Why, explain them to the why this is really toxic for your school. They know the why, they're more likely going to help take it down, and they'll help you take it down, right? Because they probably know who it is. This is the biggest piece you want to have is when these pages go up, call in the students who either they're following or who's following that page. Because usually if they're following them, it's usually their friends. But then it's just having lessons. So we just have these different curriculums where you get to kind of get into it. So this is another one where it's a poll, just like you would have a poll on Twitter, on Instagram, and have them raise their hand or raise their thumb on the two students in front. So, hey, who do you think is more athletic? Who do you think is taller? Who do you think is wearing the t-shirt the best? And who do you think is hotter? So if you see, I progressively made them all more awkward on purpose, right? So, and the one who's hotter, a lot of people don't want to vote for that, which I understand. And again, teach them, don't participate in something you don't feel comfortable. It always starts off fun and cute and, fun, like who's more athletic, that's fun. But then somebody always gets their feelings hurt. The other one that's fun is we do, because they're always changing. How do you report something? They're always changing that on Instagram. So what we did is we do it as a scavenger hunt. And what I do is I always ask the students in the class, you can set this up different ways. If the students don't have a phone or they don't have Instagram, I have them partner up. That's one way. Or if they don't have a phone, they don't have Instagram, I have them be the judge. So they would come to the front of the class. They're watching the students to raise their hand with their phone when they find it. So you list off one of these things. I would say, hey, go to where you can report a post. Whoever can find it first holds up their hand. The judges would call on that person. They have to then show and explain to the students how to do it so that they all can go do it and have it that time, right? So those are kind of some fun ways. We make it a competition. We have really good time with it. So those are the different pieces. We keep it engaging. We do have trainings coming up. The next one's December 16th, 2:30 Central Time, 5:30 Central Time. So you can, it's $39. So you can have your admin, have students get trained on how to be digital first responders, because I think it's super important that we're all on the same page. If you want more information, there's my email address, kim@icanhelp.net. But here's my homework. I'd love to hear from you. How will you help after this session? I think it's so important that we put action items into play. So how will you help? Write it down, make sure it's there. If you want to post it to social media, if you want to email it to me, if you do email me, I will send you our free resources. We have tons. It'll give you free things. And I'll even throw in the TikTok challenge if you mention where you heard this session from. So stay awesome, my friends. We've got this. You're amazing. Keep being awesome.